What's up, Grizz Nation? Welcome into another Grizz Game Day update. The Grizzlies took a few days off and they are back in action tonight at 6 p.m. in Indiana. So joining me is Scott Agness to talk some Grizzlies Pacers for the first time this season.
Yeah, we haven't seen it. And these are two of the young, I guess the Grizzlies are kind of more established, right? And the Pacers, what I find interesting is they're kind of building in a similar way and kind of looking a similar way in that the Grizzlies have Ja, the Pacers have Tyrese Halliburton. Not exactly similar players entirely, but they're built around an exciting young guard who seems to carry himself so well both on the court and off.
Yes. And the Pacers are technically Team Canada 2.0. So
Yes.
they're my second favorite team. So I was so excited to talk to you today because I get to talk about my second favorite team. Let's talk about how the Pacers score, number one, because they are top 10 in the league in scoring. The Grizzlies right up there with them. So if anything, it's going to be a high scoring game, but they're number one in fast break points. And that was something that I was interested in to I guess, is it their youth? Do they just run and gun?
It's a lot of that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a few days ago against the Knicks, what helped in the comeback, even though they didn't complete it, was they had all the fast break points and were able to pile those up and build off of their defense. You hear coaches talk about it all the time, but it really holds true with this Pacers team. When they're flowing out there, when they're creating in transition, and this is one area I give Rick Carlisle, the head coach, a lot of credit, is he's a very different coach than he was 15 years ago, 10 years ago, in that he's not holding up play calls. He's not shouting instructions. He really trusts Tyrese and the rest of the team to just play and execute the offense, and a lot of that comes through the fast break. But, Kelcey, I will say, the two drastics with this team is they are the worst team in the first quarter, and they are the best team in the fourth quarter. They continuously find themselves in double-digit holes, and be kind of like you got at, I think because of the youth, because of the energy, because of it could be any guy, any night, they're able to rally back. It's just sometimes they're not able to complete it.
That is interesting because the Grizzlies, they love getting up in the first quarter, but they're actually third in the league in third quarter scoring. So this might just be like a roller coaster of emotions tonight, and I'm not quite sure how to handle it. My second question for you was on the rebounding end. The Grizzlies lead the league in rebounds. A lot of that has to do with Steven Adams. They have Jaren Jackson Jr. back. So they got two big bodies down low. The Pacers bottom 5 in rebounding, and I was actually surprised to see that. Just they're not like a tiny team. They're not playing super undersized, but is rebounding just not a priority? Or they're just making too many shots? That's what I should ask. They're scoring a lot. They're just making too many. There's not a lot of rebounds to go around.
No, they'd like to be better.
Okay.
They would like to be better at rebounding. That's been an issue for several years now. They do have Miles, but a lot of times what he does is box out one of their better rebounders, and then it's on the other guards, especially, to come down and rebound. Now, a lot of what we've seen from the Pacers in the last month of the season where they've played their best basketball here is they've had a lot of four-guard lineups, so that obviously impacts what they're doing. Whereas, to start the season, they were really starting two true centers. Yet again, no, Domantas Sabonis is no longer with the team after a trade last February, but they were able to re-sign a young lottery pick that they were able to also get at the trade deadline last year in Jalen Smith. So it was Smith and Miles Turner. Not a great rebounding team. That's absolutely an area that they can be exploited. I mean, we're used to seeing the opponent's top bigs go for double-digit rebounds. We're used to that. Yes, they could absolutely do a better job at rebounding.
So with the two big guys that the Grizzlies start, is there somewhat of a mismatch against who the Pacers start?
Well, for one, I am curious with Miles Turner, coming off back spasms a couple nights ago. So I'm curious how he'll be feeling. They played last night against the Atlanta Hawks. You never know how they may bounce back after a back-to-back with several guys of injury concern. But Miles traditionally has struggled against the powerful physical bigs like Steven Adams is, like a Joel Embiid, like your Nikola Jokic. So that's certainly something to keep an eye on. And then also what they've been doing here is it's Aaron Nesmith playing the 4. But you got Jaren Jackson Jr. That's a tough matchup for anyone out there. So I'll be curious then how the Pacers adapt to that and maybe what kind of lineups they throw out there. The Pacers have a lot of bigs on their roster, but Miles is the main one that's getting action, in addition to Jalen Smith, maybe Isaiah Jackson.
Yeah, and so if he doesn't play, it is it gets very, very young.
Yeah.
Okay, my last question for you, because because we haven't seen the Pacers this season yet. And like you mentioned, there has been a lot of trades here and there, last season, off season, all of that. One thing that the Pacers do well that the Grizzlies team needs to be prepared for, like what's their bread and butter?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, in addition to fast break points, because that would be the number one thing. I think the other thing is they've become a team that plays more modern style of basketball, like the Grizzlies, and they love to shoot the ball. So we're used to seeing Buddy Hield go for 5 threes per game. When Tyrese is out there, 3, 4, and 5 threes per game. So I think it's really defending that 3-point arc. And then the other big thing I'll highlight is the Pacers bench. While the Pacers start slowly in games, they're falling behind in double digits, led by Ben Mathurin, one of your Canada guys. He's led the charge with that second unit. He's the top scoring bench guy in the league, and he scores in bursts. So it's not just 2 and 4 points. He might come in and start the second quarter and score 10 of his 25 points in the game, and that's what gets the Pacers back in the game. We've seen that many times.
Shout out Mathurin. Wow. All right. First time we're going to take on the Pacers. Like I said, tip-off is at 6 p.m. tonight. Scott, I appreciate you so much for coming on. I hope you have a really good game today. And I mean, I guess we'll talk again in a few weeks, right?
Absolutely. Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Grizzlies fans, you can watch this one on Bally Sports Southeast and the Bally Sports Plus app.